Welcome to Daily English Room. Today's topic is social media. How often do you use social media, and which platforms do you prefer?
I'm quite active on social media, especially for my design work. I use Instagram and Behance daily to showcase my portfolio and connect with clients. Pinterest is another platform I can't live without. I spend hours there finding inspiration for my projects. I also use Twitter to follow design trends and join conversations in the creative community.
When did you start using social media?
I started relatively late compared to my peers. I'd been rather skeptical about social media until about 2013, when I realized its potential for showcasing my design work. If I had realized how important it was for networking, I would have joined sooner. Initially, I only used it professionally, posting my portfolio and connecting with other designers. Over time, though, I've found myself sharing more personal content. That being said, I still maintain separate accounts for personal and professional use.
What kind of people do you like to be friends with on those social media websites?
Being a graphic designer, I'm naturally inclined to connect with other creatives. The type of people who aren't afraid to think outside the box and push artistic boundaries. Having said that, I've found that some of my most inspiring connections aren't designers at all. They might be musicians, writers, or even scientists. What matters most to me is that they bring a unique perspective to the table. Funny enough, if you had asked me this question a few years ago, I would have given you a completely different answer. I used to be much more focused on industry-specific networking.
Is there anything you don't like about social media?
As a designer, I have quite a few grievances with social media. First and foremost, the constant pressure to produce content can be overwhelming. It's as if we're all trapped in this never-ending cycle of creation and consumption. What's particularly frustrating is how social media algorithms tend to favor quantity over quality. If the platforms had been designed differently, maybe we'd see more thoughtful, creative content. Moreover, I can't help but notice how social media has homogenized design trends. These days, it seems everyone is copying whatever is popular, rather than developing their unique style.
Do you think social media has more positive or negative effects on society?
As a designer, I see social media as a double-edged sword. It's amazing for creativity and inspiration, and it's connected me with a global community of artists. But there's immense pressure to constantly produce and share content. I've noticed that many people, including myself sometimes, create work for social media appeal rather than artistic value. We need to find a better balance.
How do you think social media will evolve in the next 5 years?
I'm excited about the potential of virtual reality in social media. I think we'll move beyond simple photo and video sharing to more immersive experiences. Maybe we'll have virtual art galleries where I can showcase my designs in 3D spaces. But I also hope we'll see more features focused on genuine connection and creativity, rather than just chasing likes and followers.
How has social media changed the way you communicate with people from different cultures?
As a graphic designer, visual communication is my strength, but social media has pushed me to adapt my design style for global audiences. I've learned that color symbolism varies across cultures. What means good luck in Japan might mean something completely different elsewhere. I now create designs that can speak to multiple cultures simultaneously, which has been an exciting challenge.
What's the most surprising opportunity you've gotten through social media?
A design I posted on Instagram was spotted by my favorite music artist. They commissioned me to create their album cover art. It was a dream come true. I've been a fan for years, and suddenly I was collaborating with them. The project led to more music industry work, opening up a whole new career path I hadn't even considered before.
How do you manage your time on social media to stay productive?
I treat social media like any other design project, with structure and intention. I use scheduling tools to post my work at optimal times, and I set strict limits for scrolling. I've organized my Instagram feed to follow only accounts that inspire my work. One trick I love is using my phone's grayscale mode when I need to check social media but don't want to get distracted by colorful content.
What advice would you give to someone just starting to use social media professionally?
Be patient and find your unique voice. When I started sharing my designs, I was too focused on copying popular styles. Once I started sharing my authentic work, even if it wasn't trendy, I found my true audience. Also, treat your social media presence like a portfolio. Be professional, but don't be afraid to show your personality. And always give credit when you're inspired by someone else's work.
Have you ever taken a break from social media? How did it affect your personal and professional life?
I take regular breaks during my creative process. When I'm developing new design concepts, I avoid social media for a few days to prevent being unconsciously influenced by other artists' work. These breaks help me create more original designs. The first time was scary. I felt like I would be forgotten. But now I realize these breaks make my social media presence more meaningful and my work more authentic.
If you could change one thing about how social media works, what would it be and why?
The more I use social media professionally, the more I realize its shortcomings. If there were one thing I could modify, it would be the pressure to constantly produce content. Not only is it exhausting, but it also hampers creativity. I can't help but wonder whether we'd see more innovative and thoughtful content if creators weren't compelled to post so frequently. Mightn't it be better to focus on quality rather than quantity?
What impact do you think social media will have on future generations, particularly in your field of work?
The design industry has already been transformed by social media, hasn't it? Looking ahead, I believe we'll see even more integration between social platforms and creative tools. Had you told me 10 years ago that I'd be designing primarily for digital spaces, I wouldn't have believed you. That being said, I do worry about the preservation of traditional design skills. Unless we make a conscious effort to maintain them, some techniques might be lost to future generations.
How has your approach to privacy on social media evolved over time?
When I first started using social media as a designer, I would share every sketch and concept without hesitation. However, having experienced design theft firsthand, I've become far more selective. These days, not only do I watermark my work, but I also think twice before sharing works in progress. Mind you, it's a difficult balance to strike. After all, sharing our creative process is vital for building an audience, isn't it?
At what age are children generally allowed to use social media in your country?
Here in Japan, the official age requirement tends to be 13, but in practice, it's rather different. Many Japanese children start using social media platforms specifically designed for students when they're around 10. By the time they're in middle school, most of them are already online, which is incredibly popular here. That being said, there's a strong emphasis on privacy and online safety. Parents often monitor their children's accounts until they're well into their teens. Wouldn't you agree that's sensible?
That's all for today's daily English room conversation practice. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, like, leave a comment, and hit the subscribe button. See you next time.